Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Midwest City Council meeting this evening. Marvin, will you lead us in our invocation? Please stand for the invocation.
Lord, thank you for and all these council people and all the leaders here, Lord, and be with them, Lord, and help them make the right decisions, Lord. And I pray for everyone else here, Lord, that we all be safe going home. In your name, amen. Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Harpin, could you come down and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? Mr. Harpin's from the American Legion Post here in Midwest City.
Hands over your hearts, Legionnaires, veterans. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this weekend is Memorial Day, and as we enter this time, I want to remind you that 1.3 million soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Marines have given their ultimate sacrifice to protect our country. I would like to take just a minute of your time in silence to remember those individuals who've given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you very much. Community-related announcements. Anybody? I was going to calm down. Mr. Harpin, would you come and make your announcements about what's going on to Legion this week and next month?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. First of all, I bring you greetings from American Legion Post 170. We're the ones up on Northeast 10th Street with the big missile out in front of our place, if you don't know where we're at. There are a couple of things coming up over the next month that the Legion is heavily involved in. First of all will be next Monday, Memorial Day. We will be conducting our annual Memorial Day service at Arlington Memorial Gardens, Northeast 36th and Midwest Boulevard, starting at about 10:30 in the morning. The entire community is invited to please come. Pay respects to the fallen individuals that have gone before us. There will be an open house and free lunch. It'll only be hot dogs, hamburgers, and brats following, starting at about noontime at the post home. And everyone is welcome. See what we're doing up there, look around the place, see our 3 oil wells pumping, hopefully. The second thing that is coming up that I wish that to have the community involved in, and the Legion is sponsoring, June 14th, as everyone knows or should know, is Flag Day. That is the proper time of year to replace old, worn out, unserviceable flags and to have them properly disposed of. There is a proper way to do that. You don't just throw them in the trash. Bring them to the Legion post, any veterans post. We'll take care of them.
Or to City Hall.
City Hall will take them also and get them to us, okay? And I believe the local fire departments will also accept them, and they funnel down to us. Starting on June 11th, Saturday, the Saturday before Flag Day, being in the middle of the week, we moved it back to Saturday. American Legion Post 170 will be conducting a formal flag retirement ceremony out in front of our post home. We got the parking lot out there. We'll be out in front, starting at 10:30 in the morning. If you have old unserviceable flags, please bring them to us. We will properly dispose of them. If there's any questions, where we're at, how to get them to us, myself can be contacted personally about this. My cell phone number is 820-9637. or you can call our post home. They're between about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and whenever in the evening. That's our lounge is open. And that number is 732-6665. And our lounge is open 7 days a week and open to veterans. We don't care what branch you were in or when you were in. You served one day, you're a veteran, you're welcome at our post home. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Harper, and thank you for your service to your country. We've got a little plaque presentation. Dennis, could you come down and Bill?
Paul, please come down too.
Ladies and gentlemen, the city of Midwest City has been blessed with the employees that we have, and Dennis is one of these employees. And, Is it on? Thank you, Mr. Reed. Dennis is one of our employees that's been with us for a long time, and he's going to be missed, but he's going into retirement. Dennis has worked for the city of Midwest City for 30 years. He did every job in the sanitation department at one time or another. He was one of the few remaining employees that remembers lugging the orange trash cans on the side of the house to pick up the trash. Dennis worked almost every Saturday at the transfer station, and most of our regulars still ask about it. The customer service that he provides to the city of Midwest City and its citizens is resounding. Most importantly, Dennis is a true friend of his co-workers and everyone that is around him. Dennis has made his decision to retire to take care of his parents, who are present today, Mr. and Mrs. U.L. Newman. Thank you for being here. And that in and of itself says volumes about his character and where he's coming from. We're sad to lose you, but obviously you're going to take care of your parents, and that's a calling that needs to be recognized. Thank you. I want to give you this plaque in recognition of your service, and special recognition and thanks to Dennis R. Newman for loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of Midwest City and the city of Midwest City, given this day in your service from July 18th, 1988 to April 1st, 2016. And this is just a little note from you. Thank you.
Good catch. Good catch.
Good catch.
I would like to just make one quick announcement with the Memorial Day weekend approaching. Our regular sanitation service that occurs on Monday will take place on Wednesday, and that also includes the if you have recycling on Monday. And our transfer station will be open this weekend. I would remind everyone that we have started taking green material at our recycling center, composting facility up on Northeast 36th Street, and not taking that material at the transfer station anymore. So, and if you can't get there on Saturday, you can drop off that green material by appointment on 2 days of the week. I'm not sure, is it Tuesday and Thursday? Yes, so that's all I have.
We'll go ahead and move into our regular agenda. Our consent agenda is these items are placed on the consent agenda so members of the City Council by unanimous consent can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed on the consent agenda does not meet with the approval of all council members or members of the audience wish to discuss a proposed item with the council, that item will be removed and heard in regular order. Is there any item that you wish to have removed?
I'd like 12 just removed for a little more discussion on this. It's a big deal. Sorry, guys, I forget I'm supposed to push this button. Because it is a very large deal, and I just want to make sure that everybody's in tune with the 4 people that we've all picked.
Move to approve all items except number 12.
Second.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second over here.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes carry. Item 12 be set aside. Go ahead with the regular order.
So item 12 is discussion consideration of appointing the following Midwest City citizens to serve on the Charter Review Committee. That would be Dr. Charles McDade, Lisa Stark, Glenn Goldschlager, and Espinola Bowen, and they will join 3 council members, Christine Price Allen, Sean Reed, and Pat Byrne, and that will round out the committee of 7 that will take a look at our charter.
I just wanted to make sure I shouldn't have given the mayor a hard time for his microphone tonight. I keep forgetting mine. I just wanted to make sure that because this is a big deal. This charter's basically been in effect since the 50s, and we're going to make sure that it's positioned to take us for the next 50 years. And I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page, because we had a very good list of people, and we've taken it down to 4. I just wanted to make sure that the council was okay with the 4.
Anybody have any discussion?
I have a question. You started with how many people on the list? How many names?
There turned out to be about 13 people that were actually considered.
I feel like that once we get a list of names that we should have a little more time where the entire council might get to have a voice or select
I think they were sent out to everybody at one point. This is a very limited, narrow scope committee. There's certain items that are going to be looked at, and we're trying to get them on track and get it ready. We've got kind of a narrow deadline by September to get it ready for the November general election, if we can. And so we need to get them in place and on board by June 1st so we can move on with the agenda. I spoke to the city prosecutor today. She's going to be the oversight member, ensuring that everything that they look at is legal and the verbiage is correct. So that's kind of why we're moving in the direction. We can delay it, but any recommendations they come up with, we're going to have to wait until the next general election or call a special election, which will cost us around $20,000 to have. So that's kind of why we're at where we're at.
Okay, and also there was some discussion. I remember seeing some emails and some questions on employees being able to serve on this?
We discussed that with the city attorney. Ma'am, would you like to chime in on this?
The Fair Labor Standards Act requires, it's the commonly known as the Federal Wage and Hour Law, which requires that employers pay employees who work in excess of 40 hours a week overtime, time and a half overtime. Governmental employees do have the option of paying what is commonly referred to as comp time or compensatory time. It is still paid at 1.5 times the value earned. Any employee who serves on a committee or provides services of any form to the employer has to be paid for the provision of those services, unless they are grossly divergent from what they normally do, because most of the employees in the city are governed, all of the employees in the city are governed by the charter. Most employees are not going to have duties and responsibilities on a daily basis that are grossly divergent from working on or participating in the amendment of the charter. The other aspect to it is that it is extremely, extremely rare for a city employee to serve on a board or commission or committee, because when you think about what the purpose of a commission or a committee is, it is to impanel a group of experts or folks who will become experts in the field to provide the council with expert advice. Therefore, employees staff committees. We provide support to these folks who are the experts who will be advising the council and making recommendations.
Councilman Moore, I love it when you ask an attorney question, right? You get all that junk to say. It's probably not a good idea.
Well, to
Count-
clarify with what Kathy said, because I've had a lot of questions about it, city staff can volunteer for certain things. Like a fireman could go and volunteer at the pound, maybe. Or they could go to the senior citizen. There's certain things that if it's outside their scope, they could volunteer for.
But it has to be really divergent.
Grossly.
For example, the Supreme Court has said that a dispatcher, that a firefighter can't be a dispatcher without being paid overtime. And you would think, wait, fighting fires, making medical runs, talking on the phone, talking on the radio, that's really divergent, not according to the United.
And I've had several people that have asked me this question because there were several city employees that had, and their names are on here, about that very thing. And it's because the charter touches all aspects is the reason that we're saying no. It has nothing to do with the fact we don't want city employees volunteering, because there are certain things they could volunteer for.
Councilman Moore, following up on your point, I think if I was understanding you, you were talking about how names had been suggested, and then we didn't really talk about it before there were 4. Is that what you were referring to before we got these 4 names?
Right.
Okay. I thought that's what you meant. I was making sure. While we know the names, we didn't really discuss until we got to the 4. I was just making sure.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just think whenever we make a committee, when we put them together in the past, we try to make sure we find a way to have people with very different input and different opinions. And as controversial as this last election process was leading into the Charter Review Committee, I think it would be very good to get people on there who you can look and very easily identify very different perspectives, even conflicting perspectives to work out and flesh out a good product. That's important to me.
And are they required to live in the Midwest city limits on most of these committees that we,
That is
it's a requirement?
a requirement. However, we did have one that worked in Midwest City but actually lived in Del City, but due to that fact he was excluded, although he would have brought a level of expertise that would have been greatly appreciated, but he was excluded as a result of his residence. And all 4 that we have are Midwest City residents.
Okay. And I know Mr. Tony was on the list. Is it fair to ask him if he has any questions? That's
Any
all I-
further discussion? Chair, entertain a motion to pass this.
Did you want more time to look at them and go over all the names?
We can table it.
No, I don't wanna table it. I think that.
Well, there's a table and it comes back exactly like it is.
Or take no action, either way. Are you good with it?
I'm good with it.
Chair will entertain a motion. And no motion, so the we take no action.
Okay. First discussion item is PC 1869, public hearing with discussion consideration of approval of an ordinance to rezone from R6 single-family detached residential to C4 general commercial district and a resolution to amend the comprehensive plan from LDR low-density residential to COMM commercial for property described as lots 10 through 13 of Block 3 in the Canales 2nd Northeast 23rd edition. Mr. Harless?
Not unless there's any questions, glad to answer them.
Is the owner or applicant in the audience? Could you come up and give us your name and address, please?
Yeah, my name is Akbar Gurion, and I've been operating that lot over there on 23rd since 1979.
Hey, could you give us your address, please?
9200 Northeast 23rd.
Okay. And your proposed use is you have a car lot
Yes.
on 23rd Street, and
Yes,
you'd
sir.
like to expand the car lot
Yes,
to the
yes, we
to
need
the
some more
south
parking, yes.
for your cars that you're selling?
Yes, sir.
I got a question. Is that a car lot or a salvage yard?
It's a car lot. Salvage yard is down the road. There is 3 or 4 of them.
Have you had anybody in the neighborhood behind you? I think there's a couple of houses that were concerned with that many cars right next to their property.
I own them, I bought from the neighbors. There's no more neighbor over there.
Look at the map, there's a couple houses on the next street that would butt up to your property. To the
There is-
east.
The gentleman who I bought it from, he's the only one in that, what is the name?
neighborhood
That
there.
streets,
Okay.
yeah.
Did the city, they would have sent notice to anybody within 300 feet, wouldn't they?
That's correct.
Nobody signed up, Billy? Nobody called you either? Okay.
Are there any, parameters or anything we can ask for, buffer
And this is all gonna be for parking, right, Billy?
Yes,
So he's realizes, I've run up against this with commercial neighbors before, he's always responsible for that fence.
Yes.
You realize that? sir?
yes, yes, yes.
Well, I would think, I mean, a developer's required to have a certain amount of green space. Is he not required to have a certain amount of buffer and green space? In the day, this don't allow us certain size.
Any requirement, this is just a zoning case, so any requirements that is required to meet, will meet these issues of building permit for occupancy.
That will be a garage.
It's not gonna tarnish the way the where it look over there in the neighborhood, is it? By having this there, I mean,
It's not off the main road.
yeah, but it's on,
Not agree with this again.
23rd.
That's that one house right there that he was selling those to.
It is, okay.
So it's built 23rd, so it's not gonna.
There's a house there, Billy, right to the east of where this lot is. They would have received a letter, right? That's close enough.
Yes, yes, they would have.
So they, within 200 feet, they had to notify all the residents, and they did. None of the residents said anything.
Could I ask a question? How many cars
Oh,
do you
you
think
wanna
that
talk?
you have on your lot right now?
Somewhere around 200,
200?
250, yeah.
Okay.
Mainly, I need that parking lot for customer parking, because sometimes I buy more car and I sell less car, so customer don't have no place, and I don't want them park outside or on the sidewalk, so they could go back there and park.
So there's not gonna be an off-street, there's not gonna be curb cut on this, that he's going to come in off 23rd, okay?
Mr. Mayor, you have one more person who wanted to talk back there at your convenience. If you want to talk, you have to come to the podium and state your name.
Hello tonight. My name is John Bartholomew. I live at 2205 North St. Mark, behind the fence lot that he's going to commercial. And I live at 2205 North St. Mark, Oklahoma City. And I have a question. Since they're gonna make a parking lot out of that, what type of lighting do they have to put up? And is that lighting gonna be shined just directly on top of the cars, or at an angle to where it blends off of the fence into people's yards, or, and how high does it have to be? Is it gonna be like the lighting at Walmart parking lot? I think it would be interesting to know that for residents that live in the area.
Billy?
They wouldn't be able to put lighting that would shine back into your yard. It would be, the term escapes me, but, no, they wouldn't be able to be able to shine lights back in their backyard, but he'll be able to put up, security lighting and things of that nature, sure.
Okay.
Are you concerned? Are you opposed to this idea?
Not as long as the lighting don't shine over the fence, you know.
So you don't mind having all the cars right there next to your
No,
property?
I don't mind about the cars or about the parking lot, just as long as nothing's shining over the fence. I work for a remodeling company, and I have a lot of equipment, and I just don't want somebody to see from the road, you know, what all I have. I try to keep it as hidden as possible. And so I just don't want anything taken or stolen like you see on TV.
You would have, since he's gonna be using it for customer parking, you will have customers coming in off the street parking there by your, right? It's for customer parking,
No,
sir?
I live on the backside.
There is a creek between where he lives and where my lot is. It's
Cool,
too
I got it.
far.
I was thinking about different property.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mr. Gorian, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Gurion?
Gorian. Do you have a business card that you could give to this gentleman? That way, if your lights get a little bit askew and are pointing out,
Sure,
that
sure.
he could contact you and you would make sure that that's stopped?
Yeah.
This is good government happening here tonight, folks. Good government.
We're good
Well,
neighbor.
the
We
two
take care
neighbors
of
can
each
solve
other.
it much easier than the city getting
I'm
involved.
I like
supposed to
that.
find him a pickup truck with no lights on.
Right, good deal. Move to approve.
Thank you. Thanks.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry.
Second discussion item is PC 1870, public hearing with discussion consideration of approval of an ordinance to rezone from RMH2 Manufactured Home Park District to R2F Two-Family Attached Residential, and a resolution to amend the comprehensive plan from MH Manufactured Home to medium-density residential for the property described as a part of the southwest quarter of Section 8, Township 11 North, Range 1 West, located at 11004 Southeast 28th Street. The applicants are Todd Wiley and Adam Alexander. The owner is Lincoln Holdings LLC. Are the applicants in the audience? And could you come up and give us your names and addresses, please? And perhaps give the council a briefing as to your proposal?
Yes, I'm Randy Hill with E.D. Hill at 510 Colcord Drive, representing the applicants, and the applicants themselves are here as well. And so we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. We're in the process of preparing a preliminary plat for the property, and we'll be submitting that here shortly. And we do agree with all of the zoning requirements that are imposed on the property as a part of the rezoning of this application. We've met with the city staff and understand what those requirements will be, and have no problem there.
So you understand that, as we understand it, that the units will be, there'll be a duplex located on a single lot,
Yes, sir.
and each unit will be around 1,400 square feet
Yes, sir.
with a common
Common
wall.
Yes, sir.
How will you, and so these will be under single ownership? Will they all be owned by one group?
They could be under both. It could be either way. We could either own them, we could either continue to own the entire thing, or we could sell the lots.
Will there be any kind of firewall between the structures?
The, just what your code would require.
Okay.
Does
I-
the code require a firewall?
I'm not 100% sure, so that's,
It's fire rated. Yes.
okay, so we're getting a yes. So, I guess I would like you to think about how you're gonna handle your roof materials and try to create some continuity as to what the roofing material would be. I don't know how you wanna do that, but, you know, we've had experience with higher density housing and having multiple different types of roofs, and so hopefully if there is indeed a wall that separates the two, we've got a little bit better definition there, okay?
And we anticipate that they'll all be the same rows.
Okay. But over time, if they're sold, then it becomes an
Right.
issue.
Right.
And I assume that each one of them will have access.
We can address that in our covenants and restrictions.
Will
if you'd
each
like.
unit have access to their backyards?
Yes,
Okay, so that it won't be any situation where one person has to go through somebody else's backyard to get to something.
and there'll be a standard lot with, each lot will have access.
And I heard there was, is this gonna be gated?
Yes, the plan is for it to be gated.
Okay, and fenced, will the site be fenced?
Yes, sir.
If you could take care of that with your covenants, that would be fantastic. We have a couple messes that were not handled, and it's just kind of a mess for us. So if you could take care of it, that'd be really great for us.
Okay,
Well, it's also a mess for the homeowners as well, future down the road.
It's a mess for everybody, is what we're hearing you say.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
will these have two-car garages?
Yes,
Okay.
And I'm assuming like, what, is it Billy, what, 6-inch mount, what the curve?
It's a 6-inch curb is what it looks like. It looks like it's gonna be an asphalt road with a
yeah,
6-inch.
we haven't made a final determination on the road, but, we're actually in the process of developing the preliminary plat, and that's what's kind of proposed right now, from a talking point.
Anybody else? Mr. Hill, what roof pitch do y'all anticipate that these will be, or have you got that far?
Do you all know what roof pitch you think you might?
I couldn't hear
Yeah,
him.
could you come up? We really need to get you on the tape.
My name's Todd Wiley, and I live at 12525 Southeast 69th in Oklahoma City. So yes, I mean, we're gonna have nice roof structures, not 12-12 pitch, but at least, 8 to 9-12.
Right, and I realize it's just a zoning, but before we, in my mind, I'd kinda like to, sort of on the last, I'd like to see more what y'all are wanting to do,
Right.
and,
We're started that process. We were kind of taking the conservative way in, making sure that we thought it could get rezoned before we spend more and more money to get that part. But, I mean, we hope to have that in as quick as possible.
When you come back in, could you perhaps have a rendering or two for us
Sure.
that would illustrate
What the house will look like.
what the houses
Sure.
will look like, and I think that would be important and
Okay.
valuable to the
Yeah, our
council.
main objective, I mean, we plan on, like we talked about gating it, maintaining the yards. Our target market is getting some Air Force Base guys over there, or families to live. So the ones, you know, we not going to require it, but most of them that we keep and build ourselves, we'll have storm shelters in every one of them. We're going to have a nice park to play in. So, I mean, we want it to be a nice place.
Something else, I mean, I know it's difficult as being a developer, but the restrictions, and I wish there's a way the city could even kind of work with the developers and help the developers early on to really get a good sound set of restrictions and bylaws, because as y'all know, but I don't think there's a requirement, is there, Billy, that has to be turned in at a certain time?
No, the only way that'd be required is under a PUD now and again, under a PUD, we would look at the restrictive covenants to make sure that there was some certain things in there to make sure that there was something to pay for the road, and make sure that there was adequate fees to pay for the road, since it'll be a private road, but just very few things.
So if you said no, if the council said no to this, we could approve PUD with all those required elements in it that Jeff's talking about? Am I understanding that correctly? No,
Not really.
Doesn't work that way?
We can bring the covenants and restrictions to you when we bring the plat to you.
You give me that look like I said something dumb, or you're thinking about it.
Well, this is a zoning case, and you know, this is like a land use to see if this is appropriate land use for the area, and to go into covenants and go into you know, the materials that'll be used, and is really not what.
I figured you'd say that.
Well, see, and basically though, tonight it's just the zoning thing.
Okay.
We could zone this for this and still deny everything else if we don't like the way it comes in.
The plat.
This is just strictly the zoning. And like I say, if we don't like, well, if we don't feel good at what we're gonna do, we can deny it. It's not like approving this tonight doesn't mean anything other than we're changing the zoning.
Right.
Make sure it's something you like.
And it really needs to be, because our town has too many junky places in it. And some of them that I've seen, I've lived here my whole life, that I've seen them built, and the day I saw them getting constructed, I said, one day that's gonna be a crappy piece of land. And there's one that you don't have to go very far from here to find. And it's just, we gotta have stuff looking good. Because a lot of times, anytime you hear multifamily, high density, people immediately assume there's gonna be the area where our police department's gonna have to live, which we basically do at one because of the crime rate and property values. And I know there's some pretty nice areas over in that part of town that I just don't wanna see those areas. People go, I'm not buying a house in this part of Midwest City because of that one area up on the corner.
So can we go ahead and just approve the zoning, and then you said you'll bring it back to us and we can see? I make a motion to accept,
I have
approve.
one quick question. Billy, did you say that we had any concerns about this one from residents? Was this the one with
We
the?
do have one resident here who came to listen. Did you have any questions after listening?
As long as the board approves and holds them to a standard, no.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. I thought there was like an issue about not coming out on the main street, coming off on the side street.
At the planning commission meeting, there were a couple of residents, surrounding property owners that expressed their concerns about coming out on Westminster, or how this was all gonna function and everything, but I think the applicants answered their questions.
I just wanted to bring it up because I want to ask you about when the plat comes in.
We told them that we would give them a copy of the plat before it goes to planning commission, and we'll follow up that. I got all their phone numbers and names, and
Very well.
we'll follow up with that.
I second the
And
motion.
they'll be notified as well.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing a nice place, and
Yes.
just work with us on some nice steep roofs and trying to make
Sure.
you know, I think it's a good thing if you hold your standards up.
Okay, we do have a motion, and I have a
Second.
second.
Appreciate you guys.
All in favor to approve the zoning ordinance on this particular issue?
And the resolution to amend.
And the resolution to amend, I'll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry. Next item.
Thank you.
This is discussion consideration of appointing a city council member to fill the vacancy on the Trails Advisory Committee created when Rick Rice concluded his city council term. 2, a park board member to fill the vacancy on the Trails Advisory Committee created when Hazel Craddock concluded her park board term. And 3, a sidewalk committee member to fill the vacancy on the Trails Advisory Committee created when Turner Mann concluded his sidewalk committee term.
We do have a John Manning to fill the slot from Hazel Craddock's vacant spot, and also Councilman McClure has gracefully committed to the sidewalk, and Councilman Reed to the trails. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve those.
Second motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I just want the record to reflect, I was promised a 1 meeting a year committee, and I'm gonna hold you to it.
Once a month.
One every 5-year committee, I'm holding
I
you to
think
it.
the discussion time is closed. The motion carries. Ayes
Once a
carry.
month.
The next discussion item is discussion consideration of approving and passing an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Community Center of the Midwest City Code, establishing an effective date and providing for repealer and severability. These are some. Did I skip one?
Yeah, we skipped.
Oh, how could I skip that? Excuse me. Discussion and consideration of approving and adopting a resolution directing the apportionment and disbursement of the increment generated as of April 30th, 2016 from the tax increment district number 1, City of Midwest City.
Move to approve.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry.
Do I need to read this again? Discussion, consideration of approving and passing an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Community Center of the Midwest City Code, establishing an effective date and providing for repealer and severability. This is an ordinance that amends certain rates and policies for the community center and also incorporates the senior center in these policies.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry.
Next item is discussion consideration of approving and passing an ordinance amending Chapter 30, Parks and Recreation of the Midwest City Code, Article 4 in general, by amending Section 30-46A and B, golf course rates, establishing an effective date and providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry.
Next item is discussion consideration of passing and approving an ordinance amending Chapter 43, Water, Sewer, Sewage Disposal, and Stormwater Quality of the Midwest City Code by amending Article 2, Water Rates and Charges, Section 43-63A 1 through 4, Water Rates Inside City, providing for repealer and severability. This is a ordinance that would provide for a rate increase for the water department. It would increase the rate this next year by $1.50 in each category, and the rate for over 1,000 gallon usage would increase by 10 cents as well. And then it sets up a series of future increases through FY 2021.
We wanted to, before we approve this, want to make sure we talk about briefly, some of us had questions about raising the rate, and we did some research, and we have an ordinance on the books to help out those in the lower income brackets. If you're in the lower income brackets as defined by HUD, you can come into our water department and request a rebate, and that rebate would be, of course, then refunded to you. And so that's a way that, although rates are being increased, there is this opportunity for those who we know are in need, and we will make sure that everyone's aware of that. And with that, I move to approve.
You do have to have proof of income documentation.
Proof of
So it's
income
not
that meets
just
the
your
HUD
request,
guidelines.
yes.
Correct.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second to approve this item. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry. Next item.
Next item is discussion consideration of passing and approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 18, Garbage and Refuse, by amending Article 2, Municipal Collection and Disposal Service, Section 18-27A, residential service fees, and Section 18-28, business and commercial service fees, and providing for repealer and severability.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes carry. New business and public discussion. Anybody have anything? Mr. Glossager, please approach the podium.
Do you live at 1804 Evergreen Circle?
1409 Evergreen Circle.
1409.
You haven't got it memorized yet?
Almost.
The rules are he has to say his name and
Glenn Goldschlager, 1409 Evergreen Circle, Midwest City. 2 weeks ago, during our audit team told us that we were going to have to carry the liability, our portion of the liability for the fire department's retirement, as a liability on our books. It's $20 million. Now, we don't owe this money, but it's on our books and it is a liability, and I believe that since our state legislators created this mess, and not our local fire department and not any of you, that they have an obligation to come down here and explain to us why it's there and what they're doing to stop it. Since 2 of our legislators are retiring out, this might be a good time to have them come talk to us, because with only one with any experience next year, it wouldn't be a good time. But the legislature is almost over, thank God.
The world will be safe again.
Yes,
When
it
they
would
go
be
home.
safer if they all went home permanently.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, I do think that the 3 of them should come down here and explain to us how this was created, how they came up with $20 million, which I don't understand where it came from, and what they're doing so that this thing goes away, because I just think it's not fair the way they did this, and that's all. Thank you.
thank you for your comments, Glenn. We appreciate it.
Any additional new business or public discussion? Okay. Now we have an executive session. Discussion consideration of one entering into executive session as allowed under 25 OS Section 307B3 to discuss the purchase or appraisal of real property, and 2, an open session authorizing the city manager to take action as appropriate based on the discussion in executive session.
Move to go to executive session.
Second.
I have a motion to go to executive session and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back.